Okay, illustrative math, unit 3, lesson 2 is called square roots and cube roots. So our goals, I can calculate square and cube roots. I can determine side lengths of squares and cubes and express their exact values using radicals. All right, the key there is exact values, okay, not rounded. Okay, so find the area of this square. So a square, right there, a square, if you remember from geometry, 4 right angles, okay, 4 right angles, and 4 congruent sides, okay, so x, 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 x. So your area, think of it like a rectangle. A lot of people say x times x, but really your area is going to be x times x. It's really just the side length squared. So the problem is we don't know what these sides are here. We don't know. They should all be the same because it's a square. So what we got to do is we got to find one of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refer back to Pythagorean's theorem from geometry. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So in other words, a and b are legs. So it's a leg squared plus leg squared equals the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the long side on a right triangle, okay? Or the side opposite the right angle. So if I look here at this right triangle right here, this is the right triangle. This side here is my hypotenuse, okay? So I'm going to call this x. All right, let's call it c because it's the hypotenuse. So a and b are 2 and 3. So 2 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. So this will be 4 plus 9 equals c squared. Now we don't need the positive or negative because although we had to insert a square root, normally we put a plus or minus because we're talking about the side of a triangle. We're not going to have a negative side length on the triangle. So the exact value is c equals the square root of 13. If you wanted to take your calculator and type it in to get a decimal, you could. So I'm going to type it in right now. The square root of 13 is 3.606. And I'm going to put, instead of an equals, I'm going to put an approximate sign there, okay? So now I got the side here. So this is 3.606. So if I just, to take my area, I took 3.606 and squared it, I'm going to get 13.003. Okay. Now here's the thing though, I rounded to get that 6 right there. So if I really wanted to use the exact value, check this out. Your area equals the square root of 13 squared, and then your square and your square root undo each other. So it's actually 13. Okay. So 3.606 or square root of 13. So this would be more exact. This would be approximate. Okay. All right. So we're going to use those concepts here to find my area of all these squares. So you complete the table with area of each square in square units and its exact side length. So I'm going to start with A. A is really easy. It's 1 by 1. So A, your side length is 1. Your area is 1 squared. If I go to C, C is probably the next easiest because it's not turned. This is a 2 by 2. So your side length is 2. 2 squared. When I square that, you get 4. Let's go to B here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to think of this side here as a right triangle, kind of like I did before. 1, 1, and we'll call this C right there. So 1 squared plus 1 squared equals C squared. So I get C equals the square root of 2 for that one. So that's your side length, the square root of 2. And your area would be square root of 2 squared, right? Area equals a side length squared, so that would be 2. Let's go to D down here. So this one here, here's my triangle. Right there. So this is 2, 1, and we'll call that C. So 2 squared plus 1 squared equals C squared. So that's going to be 5 equals C squared. So when I square root both sides, square root of 5 is my side. And then when I square that, it just gets rid of the radical and I get 5. Last one over here, this is going to be 2. And then this leg here is 2. And then we got to find the hypotenuse because the hypotenuse is the side of the square. So come over here. So it's going to be 2 squared plus 2 squared equals C squared. We'll call that C. So this is 4 plus 4, 8. So this will be the square root of 8 for the side. And then when you square it, it gets rid of it. Okay, so moving down, we can kind of follow this pattern here. So if I want to go side length to area, we square. So let's call this side length, we'll call it S. Area, we'll call it A. So we need to square that. And if I want to go from area to side length, we square root. So I want to go area to side length, so square root the 9, that's 3. If I want to go side length of 4 to an area, you square the 4 and get 16. This one, you square root the 23. This one, I have to square the 6.4. So I get 40.96. And then this one, I square root the 89. And if it's not a perfect square, I'm just going to leave it under the radical. All right, you see the pattern there? All right, so let's talk about a cube. Now, a cube is, think of a rectangular prism. Normally we say, volume equals length times width times height, but really they're all the same side. So I'm just going to call it x, x, and x. So my volume of a cube is just any side length cubed. So cube has an edge of 3 units. What's the volume? 3 cubed, which would be 27. 4 units. So same thing, cube to the 4, and you get 64. 8 units. Oh, this time we're going backwards. The volume is 8. So I'm plugging in 8 for V. And then I got to find X. So in order to get rid of a cube, I'm going to cube root both sides. So the cubed root of 8 is 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 would give you 8. Same thing here, volume is 7 units, so plug in 7 for V. Cube root both sides, so cubed root of 7 equals X. Now if I want to get a decimal for that, I could, there's a cube root button on your calculator. I mean, obviously, depending on what type of calculator you have, your button's going to be in a different place, but I got 1.912 is my approximate X. All right, so for number 5, the cubed root of 1200 is between 10 and 11, because 10 cubed equals 1,000, and 11 cubed equals 1,331. Determine whole numbers that each of these cube roots lies between. Okay, so let's just think here. 1 cubed is 1. 2 cubed is 8. So the cubed root, any number between 1 and 8, if I take the cubed root of anything between 1 and 8, it's going to be between 1 and 2. So that right here tells me the cubed root of 5. And let's think here, 3 cubed is 27. So the cubed root of anything between 27 and 8 is going to be between 2 and 3. So 10 is between there. So that's going to be cubed root of 10. Let's keep going here. The 4 cubed is 64. So 50 would be between 27 and 64. So cubed root of 50 would be between 3 and 4. 5 cubed is 125. So 100 is between 64 and 125. So the cubed root would be between 4 and 5. 6 cubed is 216. 7 cubed, 343. 8 cubed is 512. So basically, cubed root of 500 is between 343 and 512. So the cubed root of that's going to be between 7 and 8. Okay. So what's the difference between 10 squared or the cubed root of 10 and the square root of 10 and the cubed root of 10? Cubed root of 10, okay, so square root of 10, let's do this, is what number squared equals 10? And the cubed root of 10 is what number cubed equals 10? Okay. Which is larger, square root of 10 or cube root of 10? How do you know? For this one, I would say square root of 10, because I would say you only need to multiply the number by itself twice versus 3 times. All right, what is a solution to the equation x cubed equals 10? So we're going to cube root both sides. We get x equals the cubed root of 10. And I'm just going to leave it. I don't have to get a decimal. I could. All right, what does the fifth root of 10 mean? So this would mean what number multiplied by itself 5 times equals 10. Okay. So when you end up getting that, you leave them exact, because when you start rounding these, it's really kind of like this: the fifth root of 10 times the fifth root of 10. So the exact answer is just the fifth root of 10. So if you multiply that 5 times, that will actually equal 10. So I can calculate square and cube roots. We even took a little further there at the end with a fifth root. In your own words, what does the square root of 7 mean? So I would say here for 1, what number times itself equals 7? Find 2 whole numbers that are closest to the cube root of 22. So for number 2, I would just I would say, okay, since it's cube root, I'm going to cube numbers. So I'd say square root of 20, cube root of 22 is between 2 and 3. So between those two integers. All right, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video.